First mate. Okay, I'm going to explain pirate lore really quickly, and then we're going to move on. So it's basically like, if you are captain, first mate is like your go-to man. That's who you're going to like need help from.
You're playing that is or not?
Yeah, is. Oh. No, I'm not doing this. We're doing a positive environment today. Okay. So are we all clear on what piracy is and how to do it? Okay. We're good. So, Abhishek. Burke. Letty. Emerson. Gianna. Letty. Ethan.
Matthew.
Emerson.
Sophia.
Noah.
Lydia.
Tiago.
Liv.
Liz. Is not here. Okay, fine. Mateo. Okay, got it. Tara. Claire. Bella.
Laura.
And I know the next one. Laura.
Bella.
There we go. Locke.
Ethan.
Fire. Carmen.
Burke's got ability.
There we go. Burke. Cole. Nice. Mercedes. Fun.
Claire.
Cool. Perfect. Liv.
I think Matthew.
Nice. Gordon.
Ruan.
Fire. Kai has a proxy. Arliss.
Hi. Yes.
Tiago. Perfect. And that's all.
Why did no one say
Why did all of you say us?
I think it's a big question.
No. Tara, who would be your first mate?
I said Claire.
Oh my God! I'm so sorry.
No, I'm saying why no one picked me.
All right. It is. Oh. It is 8:08, and roll has been taken. Roll reversal. The invocation. Can I get someone who claims? I don't know. Can someone read the invocation?
May we, the Student Senate, have the wisdom, patience, and guidance to be responsible representatives. May we be fair in judgments, enlightened in our discussions, and ethical in our actions. Can I get a Go Broncos?
Go Broncos!
Someone else read the language, please.
We pause to acknowledge that Santa Clara University sits on the land of the Ohlone people who trace their ancestry to the missions of Juarez, Santa Clara, and San Jose. To remember their connection to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to live, work, learn, and pray on the traditional homeland. Let's all take a moment of silence to respect to our elders and to all Ohlone people, past and present.
Thank you. Previous minutes. Julia once again for taking notes during our PSO fair last week. Please check out motion. Second. Motion from Emerson, second from Abhishek to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Public comment. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak at this time? I see no members of the public who is not a member of AHT, so we will be moving on. Special orders, there are none. The approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Gordon to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The agenda is approved. Thank you, everyone.
Trying to be different.
There is no old business, and we have new business. Two big ticket items. First is a presentation from Judicial. Would you like to step forward?
Go finish briefly.
What is that? Zero funding, $1.
Post on my Instagram.
Hello. Hi. We are part of what would have been a full eye of the student court. I'm your justice, and these are your associate justices, and we have come to present our final judgment regarding SPC 4's fate, as well as give you an introduction into judicial review. You guys be treating now? Oh. Yay.
Okay, so basically, just to refresh on SPC 4, it changes the eligibility to be on the exec board. Before, you could just be on exec if you are a rising. Oh my God. You should. Okay, the new SPC 4. So enroll undergraduate students throughout the entirety of the term, and you also have to be a rising or current junior or senior. But before this, this eligibility requirement was only for student body presidents and vice president, senate chair, and chief of staff. But SBC 4 expanded that eligibility requirement to all exec positions. So that means VP of Conduct also needs to meet those requirements as well, for example. And lastly, SBC 4 was passed this year.
It was actually passed a few weeks ago.
So what is judicial review? This is the process that we did. So judicial review is basically a checks and balance system that we have in place. And we want to make sure that all the new bylaws that are passed are consistent with previous bylaws. So if the new bylaw is inconsistent with any previous bylaws, we can nullify that, which means that it won't be in place anymore. And what leads to a judicial review, so basically if the bylaws passed this year, and then we hold a simple majority vote to see whether or not we think that this new bylaw is consistent with previous bylaws. And we let the authors of the new bylaw know whether or not this new bylaw is eligible if it's, sorry, it's been a really long one. But yeah, we let the authors of the new bylaw know whether or not we find that if it's consistent or inconsistent, and then we hold a formal student court style hearing where the authors defend their bylaw. We also get a chance to question them. And lastly, we have a closed door meeting to deliberate and see whether or not this bylaw is consistent with the previous ones. So for this bylaw specifically, for one, it passed during the current academic year. And we held a simple majority vote to see whether or not we should review it. And the court had concerns about whether or not the expansion of this eligibility was consistent with existing bylaw sections regarding candidate qualifications and appointment to the executive branch.
So those existing sections in question that we cited in our decision was section 3C2, section 5C3, and section 5D1A, which is just like numbers and letters, so I'll explain what those actually say for you. So for section 3C2, that is under the part regarding the executive branch, and that is one of the pages that the bylaw sought to change. And it talks specifically about the precedent for hiring a VP of ComDev, for example, which is one of the positions that the SBC4 sought to expand the eligibility to. And so strong of a citation about positions on exec, but it's also similar for hiring smaller positions, but for hiring non-exec positions as well, that the primary objective overall in hiring the ASG bylaws framework when it comes to hiring is about creating qualified, like looking for qualified and motivated people. There's, while you can have like a preference for age, it's not something that you have, like, that you must only follow.
Sure. Okay. So decision time. What we ultimately agreed on unanimously, although for kind of differing reasons, was that required, like 80% of the bylaw was consistent with the rest of the Constitution bylaws. Basically, we agreed that you should, as a executive of ASG, be required to be on campus for the entire 3/4 of the main academic year. Also, agreed for student body president, student body vice president, Senate chair, and chief of staff. It makes sense for it to be junior or senior, given what the rest of the Constitution bylaws say. Although, when we were looking at VP of Finance, VP of Comdev, Judicial Branch Chair, Chief Justice, I should know that, and VP of PR, we did not believe that the junior senior requirement specifically was consistent with the rest of the Constitution bylaws, given what they had just talked about. And then since we can't pick different parts to like change and say we only disagree with these two words, we have to come up with a thing, but that doesn't mean we disagree with the entire bylaw.
That's a very important point, actually. That we cannot cherry pick what we like, and so while we agree with most of the bylaw, it was just that 20% that we found inconsistent and therefore the whole thing had to be nullified. And so, one, you guys should really read the decision. It's actually a great read for any law heads out here. Pretty good. But if you don't, the Sparkbook version is that the bylaws that govern us as an organization do allow factors like age or experience to be considered, but they emphasize in the sections that I showed earlier that the main focus should be qualification and readiness when looking to hire for this position. And SBC4 breaks from this by using a strict class standing requirement, the language about rising or current juniors or seniors specifically, because class standing is not a reliable measure of experience or ability, so it's not something that can be used to measure qualifications or readiness, as the other section said. And while it is true that juniors and seniors may have more experience, that's not guaranteed. And so the bylaws as a framework when it comes to hiring executive positions and even like other branch positions, they require evaluations of motivation, qualification, and readiness. See how I did not say age or experience. And so because SBC4 conflicts with the bylaws, it prioritizes this eligibility of age over merit, which is my opinion.
Okay. And then in regards to next steps, maybe tuning back in, because this is what your part of the Senate is. There are basically like two little branches, as you can see here, that we could go. One on your left is the option to basically accept or like not challenge the student court's decision, kind of maintaining that SBC4 does not go into the Constitution bylaws and it's like remain as it was before you all passed this a few weeks ago. The other option is that Senate overrides the judicial decision. SBC4 goes into the bylaws as it was voted on by you, or there are like other stipulations where you could make edits to the parts that we discussed, but that's different. And that would require a 2/3 like supermajority vote from the Senate if any of you motion to overturn our decision. Hopefully that is a good explanation of the two options.
And lastly, for our recommended revisions, we found that SBC4 may be brought into compliance, with the ASG bylaws by removing the senior and junior requirement for all executive roles. Like we said, we agree with most of it, just that little part. However, members would still need to be enrolled as an undergraduate student for the entirety of their term. That means all 3/4, no studying abroad, and meet performance-based expectations. So existing class standing rules for previously unaffected positions like president, VP, and others are unchanged. but class standing can still be considered, but only as a non-binding factor. And then as senators, you all may vote to uphold the decision from the judicial review and advise that the authors rework SBC 4 to be brought into compliance with the existing bylaws.
And so, all that is true, and as your Chief Justice, I want to remind you guys of the importance of timing. There was a little, we repeated a lot that this bylaw passed was within the current year, like over and over, and it's because the judicial review process only applies to bylaws passed within the current year. And so, as you know, the Supreme Court is coming to a close, so the Senate, the exec, and the judicial term are also ending, because obviously the year is ending. And so while SBC 4 was nullified by this court that exists right now, it still requires Senate, or it still gives you guys the opportunity to check and balance us. So like we said, the options are that you can uphold the decision or override it with a 2/3 vote. And we're stressing timing because the new Senate can't vote on this, can't but revisit the judicial review, and the new student court can't have a new hearing for SBC 4 because it was technically passed in the previous year. And so if Senate doesn't act before the end of the current term, the final status of SBC 4 is ultimately in limbo, and like that's kind of a crisis is a strong word, but it's kind of a crisis because we don't know what to do with it. But yeah. And then we're going to open it up to questions. So one, thank you for listening to You Should All Read the Bylaws. And then 3, we're going to open it up to questions. So if you have questions about the decision and how it was reached and questions about the language, you can direct that to the court. If you have questions about the bylaw as it was written when you guys passed it, you can direct that to the authors who very convenient.
Clarification, direct your remarks to me, even though you would still have the intent to maybe address the student court or the authors, as per Senate and formalities.
Oh, I think
Okay, Liv.
If we were to if we were to accept this nullification, and also because it's only 20% of what they disagree with, can we rework it and then represent it next week, and we would just have to re-vote on it again?
You would, because the recommended provisions that we gave would go to the authors are the ones who have the opportunity to rework it and be presented next week. And then as Senate, when you guys look at it and vote on it, you can only kind of check the stuff that we found issue with.
Correct. Or else if you do something new, you're creating a new bylaw.
Okay.
So you need to critique the current bylaw.
For clarification, because Lydia is on judicial, she cannot notate these proceedings. So I will be moderating and notating for you. Sorry for the delay. Noah?
Motion to suspend Senate rules.
Motion, second. Motion from Noah, second from Burke to suspend the standing rules of Senate. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
With the majority in favor, the motion passes to suspend the standing rules. I still have to take notes, but I guess Bam can counter it.
Yeah.
Or like y'all can vote on.
Yeah, you can just talk.
Yeah.
I just think, okay, firstly, obviously we need to vote on it, but I think revisiting the decision and what we approved, that we should just uphold it without altering it. So instead we just strike it completely, because if you're applying for a position in exactly, it makes sense that you should be conscious of it and whether or not you're going to be available the entire time. And I feel like the simplest thing, and maybe this requires either a new bylaw or we just suggest it to the election committee next year, is that we just emphasize hey, if you're going to be an exec, you have to meet these meetings, and if you're going abroad for say a quarter, you won't be able to meet that, and then like, I don't know, there's some consequence after. Like, I don't think we need to keep legislating like a new civic rule for it. I feel like you can just like emphasize it. And this rule also takes away from people like wanting to study abroad, potentially.
It's hard to emphasize it like through word of mouth when like all of exec, I guess, is going to be leaving in 2 weeks. Like it's hard for the next exec team to just know that that's what they wanted to emphasize.
I mean, I put that in there.
It's a university policy that we can't have members go abroad or be a winter quarter grad, which is why we had to enact it. That person would be removed from the position anyways if they went abroad or they were a winter quarter grad, which is kind of why we don't have Charlie as a minister anymore, which is why the bylaw has to be done. It's not like an option for us.
It's not an option if you're going abroad or you graduate early, that it's just not an option to run. You can't just make that much difference.
Well, these aren't running
Well, that
positions.
is what, sorry, we agree with the majority, like I understand what you're saying, but that is not the part that we as the court disagree with and found inconsistent. It is consistent with university policy and it is consistent with the ASU bylaws that if you have to be physically here. Like you cannot be going to like Sophia University in Tokyo and be enrolled there but also be enrolled here. Like that's not gonna work out. So the decision that we reached was that the inconsistency was within the language of junior or senior. And the reason we had to nullify the whole thing is because you can't cherry pick something. So the main issue that we had, we agreed in our decision with those parts regarding what SBC4 wrote down. It was the junior or senior part. That is the part that we gave our recommendation to revise so we can move on into compliance. Everything else in the bylaw as it is written is in compliance with the bylaws.
Motion to limit debate to 10 minutes.
From Bert, second from Liv. Limit debate to 10 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Passes unanimously. This debate will end at 8:38. But you always have the option to accept each option.
I'm curious to know whether if we uphold this decision from the court and then focus on the PSO fair, whether the authors would be interested in making the necessary changes and then we can amend the agenda and have bylaw change SBC 5 introduced just at the end of the day so we can vote on it next week. Do any comments as needed? Is that an option? Are we able to introduce something new this late? And that way it helps remove some of the concerns that we have about timeline by giving us another week to work with just in case.
You want to take that if it's already gets up there?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be up to the other members. I personally can't do something very specific.
I don't think that gives us enough time to proper edits. I think we, as an exec cabinet, would like to talk about the decision that was made and the correct wording that we would like to add in, because there's also still conversation going on about whether we want to make it judicial, also partially recommended, making it like a sub-point where junior and senior has priority in some way, and sophomores can be like incorporated. There was many different conversations and variations talked about with judicial, and so the edits that need to be made can't be made like during this time frame.
So then we can just vote to uphold it and then with the recommendations and then that gives you guys time to edit and you just present it whenever. Is that the root option for that?
I think if you vote to uphold it today, that
Yeah.
just upholds our decision.
Yeah.
If they reintroduce it, it would just be I would like start the process again.
Motion to vote?
Second.
Great.
Motion from.
Wait, no, number one.
Oh, motion to vote on upholding.
You only have to, if you want to uphold it, you don't have to do anything. You only have to vote if you want to overturn it. So if you guys are just like chilling, then
Does anybody want to override this?
I thought you said that if we didn't go vote on it, then it would be in like a limbo?
Yeah.
Or maybe, did I misunderstand that?
It's like if you don't figure out if you guys want to overturn it, or if you want to give the authors more time, that's what I meant. Sorry. That's what I meant.
Give them more time.
I think we all want to give the authors more time.
So then what's the?
And then that's it.
Motion to end debate?
I'm really confused.
Yeah.
The bylaws nullify as of right now.
Okay, so
So,
then we would have to re-vote.
Guys, sorry, there's side chatter, and I am taking notes, and I need to hear the person who's speaking. Sorry, Liz, go ahead.
Okay, just kidding, sorry, I'm working with 7 Live, and the last time this happened was 13 years ago, so there's like that. He was lacking knowledge. So Noah, if you want to vote to uphold it,
Okay, motion to vote to uphold judicial's decision.
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Timber, to uphold judicial decision. Sorry, guys. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Okay.
We will go to a, roll call vote. What was that?
I was just gonna say that that's good.
What's up, Liz?
Can I just get clarification on what we're voting on right now? We're voting to uphold judicial's decision, and then if we decide we would like to overturn that, as like from what I understood, we have to bring that up at a later date to overturn our decision, or is it right now?
the conversation right now is if you're voting to uphold it, and therefore SBC 4 doesn't go into the SBC 4 does not go into the bylaws, or you're voting to overturn it. Those are the two.
Okay, thank you.
And then to further clarify that, by upholding it, we're just giving the authors more time to reintroduce it.
Yes.
So we're just giving them more time. That's what it means to like uphold it.
Motion to reinstate Senate rules.
Second.
Motion from Ethan, second from Laura to reinstate standing rules. Motion to reinstate the am I allowed to? Do we vote first, or do I reinstate the standing rules first? Because
If you guys are voting, you have to reinstate standing rules.
okay, thank you. Okay, motion to reinstate the standing rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Passes unanimously. Thank y'all for giving me the talking stick back. What's up, Noah?
Motion to vote to uphold judicial's decision.
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Bella to uphold judicial's decision judicial decision, to strike, SB 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. With a unanimous vote, the decision from the student court is upheld. Yay! Anyone has any maybe suggestions they want to give to the authors? Would the authors be open to suggestions?
Just comment on the doc.
Okay, comment on the doc. When would y'all like comments by?
Can I seek clarification? I thought we can only take the revisions of judicial as per our meeting with you guys, right? So we cannot take comments from them, because we're taking comments from judicials. To
Alright.
take comments from them, it would be a whole new bylaw, correct? And we're just going off of what judicial recommended the changes be then.
Alright, thank you for the clarification. I look forward to a potential reintroduction next week, but we will be moving on. Yes! Thank you, student boards. Thank you, authors, for your we will now be moving on to ESO voting. I hope y'all did your homework. We gave y'all multiple resources. Victor is here as a resource during our deliberation period, during our debate period, sorry. Also a resource.
So before we kind of get into this, for the sake of time, I feel like there's like a handful of PSOs that we're all pretty sure about. So maybe should we like go around and be like, which ones we want more time on, and then white ballot the ones that we're like, these ones are good, like we're set on these. Does that sound like a plan for everyone? And then we can like limit debate based on each PSO that we have left after that, or something that we want more time on. That sound good?
Sorry, just to clarify that, would we just start with like, here are the ones we all are like, no, these are not gonna happen, and then go to the ones that are like, we all agree on, these are how we propose to get these?
Nash, can you start can you open a new tab and create a Google Doc, and we'll make a running list of the potential PSOs we want to white ballot, and we will go through the PSO presentation, through which we'll decide which PSOs to add to this list. Thank you. There's also, everyone gets, take one and pass it along.
There's not that many.
This is the PSO roster from Victor, printed out as a spreadsheet.
One for 2 people.
Yes. Wait, sorry. Is everyone clear with how this works? We'll go through the presentation list. We'll make a list of PSOs we maybe want to, we have a consensus to approve, white ballot them, and maybe vote to pass them. And the remaining PSOs which are not on this list will then be up for debate and further discussion. Any other questions?
I agree with that, but right off the bat, can we just do all the cultural ones because we're required to pass them anyway? Just put them on there.
Let's
Or do you
put
wanna
a pin in that. Victor, do you want to?
So it'd be like MSA,
Is that applied?
Rocco.
There was one this year, PSO, that they consider themselves a culture club that I think y'all would have wanted to have a decision on, but they didn't end up presenting. So I don't know if that's a bylaw or something.
For clarification, I do not believe it is a bylaw to
Yeah.
automatically pass.
Yeah.
Clubs that present themselves as cultural clubs are within that category. So I think let's establish a consensus, regardless of category first, going through the list. Any questions before we go through the list?
Definitely. So, for trying to save the planet, I only printed about 6 or 7 folders with all of the constitutions. So, if you can get on groups and share them. I also added 1 extra of the papers with the rosters. So, but if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, Burke.
Sorry, motion is to send the same rules.
Second.
Motion from Burke, second from Noah to suspend the standing rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
We will take it to a roll call vote. They're all there. Yes. Roll call vote for the motion to suspend standing rules. We may now begin the vote. will not be suspending the standing rules, but thank you for motioning otherwise. You always, of course, are able to. Mercedes? I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say no.
Sorry. You are still able to use your motioning powers. Noah.
Motion to limit discussion of every group to 5 minutes.
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Burke to limit discussion of every PSO to 5 minutes.
Just that. Just to limit when we.
What is your motion?
Just limit discussion because I'm really doing this.
Okay, I am gonna strike that motion. I'm not gonna recognize that motion for now. Let's go through the list. Let's start with Clip. Do you guys maybe want to approve? Is there any reason why we want to maybe discuss Clip further? No? Alright, now can you put that on the list, please? What's up, Ethan?
For Clip, I did just want to mention that there are, I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but I am part of Biomedical Engineering Society, and there are like medical things on campus. I think the group is just a little redundant, although they do have more like pharmaceutical focus, which I think is good. There are already a lot of medical outlet like clubs on campus. So I just wanted everyone to consider that when thinking about that.
Alright. Tiago?
I was making the same point. I'd like to not white ballot it.
Alright, we will, sorry, can you remove the list? Can you also split screen it so you can do that? Ethan?
I just want, just a quick note, that doesn't mean that it's like not a good club, I just think we should discuss it and not white out.
Yeah, thank you for that point. Victor, do you want to add something?
Yeah, definitely that's a consideration to take, that we already have a club that does similar work. Although we are like a 5,000 student club and there's not really like that many things that we can do, so a lot of these clubs are starting to become really, like specific to different things. So the clubs that are very broad, right? And then now there's students that they don't feel that club focuses specifically on that thing that they want to focus, so they branch out. And we have seen that trend a lot. So that's why a lot of clubs are starting to do that, because now a lot of the ideas have been taken but very broadly, and then now students are going into this thing. So when I meet with them, I specifically tell them, how is it going to be different from a club that we already have and that exists? So that is stated in the Constitution, and that is also stated on the presentation when they present. But yeah, just keep that in mind.
Thank you, Victor. Moving on to the next club in the presentation, which is Friends of MSF. Can you raise your hand if you have, if you don't want to white ballot? All right, this will not be added to the list. Moving on. Cabby, any reasons? Raise your hand once again if you have objections to white ballot in this. No hands raised. Can we add KABI to our white ballot list? That's all five. Sorry, Victor?
Yeah, sorry. So on the roster, I highlighted some of them. So those are the ones that used to be active or similar used to be active, and then now they're going for PSO buttons again, because it's been 5 years that that club has not been active. Just so that you know that this club, or the idea of that club has been approved before. And this is
Anyone have any questions before moving on? All right, next club, please. Multiracial Students Association, aka MSA. Does anyone raise your hand if you don't want this to be white balloted? Add it to the list, please. Next one is, I believe, the Brazilian Student Association. Raise your hand if you don't want this to be white balloted. want to address that now? Okay, fishing club. Raise your hand for any. Add to the list, please. Badminton club. For the sake of this, for this white balloting process, we will not be adding the white badminton club list because we do have a senator as a member of the executive board of that club. So it will be voted on separately to allow that senator to abstain from voting. All right, so Classic Cinema Club. Raise your hand. Okay, it's not added to the list. American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative will not be added to the list. Flourish will not be added to the list. And Overdose will not be added to the list. Democratic Student Association list will be added to the white balloting list. Tempo, music and meetups will not be added to the list. Thank you for your hands. Piece of paper will not be added to the list. American Sign Language Club will not be added to the list. Will be added to the list. I'm so sorry. Will be added to the list. All right. I am entertaining a motion to white ballot all the clubs on this list.
Motion to white ballot.
Second.
Motion from Tiago, second from Laura to white ballot all of these clubs. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I entertain a motion to vote on the white balloted club.
Motion to vote on the white ballot.
Motion from Noah, second from Avishad, to vote on the white ballot ticket. All those opposed say aye.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Oh, are we?
Yes.
My bad. Motion to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting. All those in favor of white ballot approval of the white ballot say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Congratulations. Happy MSA Rasa Cycle Club. 8 down, 20 to go. 20 to go. All right. The rest of the clubs will be up for discussion. I have a suggestion. If we were to potentially establish a white ballot list of clubs to deny, is that something that you would be open to? All right. A white ballot of clubs to deny, if you all have a consensus on them. I see mixed. Okay, no, it's we will not be white balloting clubs to deny, but the floor is open to go through the list systematically once again. Let's begin discussing CLIP. No.
I think the pitfall is going to know when you're drawing clubs, like again, the appeal that there's like a biology club and maybe do like biochem, has like maybe a separate club. But I think my concern is if they could just do these events in tandem with the larger club that this is under.
Tara, you want this one?
I'd just like to echo what Richard told us earlier. We are a college of 2,000 kids, and we have a lot of broad clubs. Like you said, they could very easily do this under a club. I agree with that. But there's a reason they're making this one. They obviously haven't, found it satisfactory with whatever club they could be doing it under. So there is a reason they do think that if they want a space to hold, certain aspects to be more specific, then I think we should allow them to do that. Gordon, go ahead.
Am I allowed to speak if I'm on the board?
You're on the board, Cliff?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, are you on the leadership, like executive board?
Yes.
Victor, is that? You can step out.
No one actually.
You have to abstain during the voting process. We vote on this. Is there any other comments? Any other questions about Clip? About what it is?
I don't have a question, I just want to re-echo what Tara said, just because I have a lot of peers who told me that they feel like when there's no specification for what, biomedical engineering society may exist, but if there's no specification for specific opportunities for pharmaceutical endeavors, et cetera, then I think that why not we have a space for that, for our job here is to represent the student body and their interests.
Yes. I would like to add that during the PSO fair, Cliff told me that BMES is more suited for biomedical devices versus Cliff, which is going more into pharma. That is what they reported to me last week. Ethan.
As a freshman representative on Biomedical Engineering Society, we do definitely focus primarily on medical devices, but we have a ton of opportunities for people who are interested in biomolecular stuff, biochemistry, and different things. But I do kind of agree with Avishad that there's not much pharmaceutical representation, and if this club were to kind of put the majority of its focus into that, as opposed to the engineering implications of the medical field, then I do think it is a good idea.
Motion to vote?
Second.
Motion from Tara, second from Noah to vote on Cliff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on Cliff. All those in favor of passing Cliff as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed say nay. All right, Cliff is passed. I'm actually in the previous slide, if you go in my blue jacket. Next club, Friends of MSF. Now opening discussion. Noah?
I think the problem with this club is that NSF, you have to go places, it's Doctors Without Borders, so I'm not sure what they'd be using funds to do, whether it's I guess that's one event, but how else are they going to do it? Are they gonna just send the money to Doctors Without Borders? That doesn't seem like something that, the RSO regulating committee, sorry, I'm going on this. SAC, thank you. Would allow, so it just seems like a resume buff rather than something that's doing more. It's a little vague too on its goals.
All right, Carmen?
Yeah, so because SAC is all a reimbursement process, that money, they have to buy things and then get reimbursed. So they just told me that they would have fundraising events where they would use SAC funds, and then from those events, they would send money to Friends with MSF, but I agree, I don't think that's what RSOs are supposed to be. I think they, there's a couple of different organizations here that they just want the tabling aspect of RSOs, and then maybe some of the reimbursement funds, but I don't think having a club that's sole aim is for fundraising is what an RSO is supposed to be about. I think it's more so about creating communities on campus. So that's why I'm kind of opposed to this one.
Gordon?
Can non-RSOs or non-student organizations, because I've seen some people, regular students, take violence.
Victor?
No, so it is only reserved for university organizations, so clubs do get a privilege, also PSOs get the privilege. If you've seen some outside, they're probably in front of Skiddy, they just grab tables or in front of the library. Although we already got that reserved, so now you can actually reserve that on 25 Live, and they shouldn't be tabling. If you see that, report it, and then we'll go again.
Noah?
Motion to vote on Friends with MSF.
have the health professional peer advising group on campus, which is supervised by Dr. Brian McNellis in the chemistry department. And that organization, while not an RSO or a CSO, still has speaker events, bringing in doctors and health professionals to support pre-med or pre-health students on campus and give them networking opportunities in that way. Abhishek, did you want to say anything? Okay, sorry. Bella?
I also in a club called Partners in Health Engage, which is very similar things to this, and it's also global health clubs, but does almost exactly the same things. So, yeah, there are like options for upset hostess.
Motion to vote on Friends of MSF. Second.
Motion from Tiago, second from Noah to vote on Friends of MSF. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on Friends of MSF. All those in favor of passing it as an RSO say aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Because of diversity of thoughts, I would like to recognize that, and we will be going to a roll call vote. Alrighty. Abhishek.
Nay.
Letty.
No.
Gianna.
Nay.
Ethan.
Nay.
Emerson. Nay. Noah.
No.
Tiago.
Nay.
Tara. Nay. Bella.
Nay.
Laura.
Nay.
Rob.
Okay.
Carmen.
Nay.
Bert.
Yay.
Jades.
No.
Liv.
Nay.
Gordon.
Nay.
Kai. No, I'm so sorry. Oh, I am so sorry. What was your opinion? All right, with a majority of nays, Friends of MSF will not be recognized as an RSO. We thank them for their presentation. Happy to pass. Benefits to pass. Bronco Robotics. If y'all can read that. Noah, would you like to speak?
I know I called up on this one, Victor, for anyone else. Can you speak to the financial position? Because they talked about wanting to do like local tournaments and then national, and at least even from like high school, a lot of students, that costs a lot of money. Obviously, like SAC and PLT, like all of their funding is given. I think that was my main concern, so like, how would they work that out? You know?
Yes. Good one. I'm pretty sure that we have had robotics before, it just hasn't been active recently, so they're going through this again. And then also they work within the department, they already do stuff. In regards to SAC, I don't want you to take into funding as like the main thing that is too expensive. Clubs that requesting like $30,000 in crazy amounts of number, but they don't get the full amount. It's very limited to the total percentage of amount that we get requested for the entire quarter, and then that gets divided into what percentage can we allocate per club, right? So that they end up getting 20% of the whatever they requested, they're not gonna end up getting anything big. So I really think that finance could be a limitation. Of course, we're gonna keep getting comments about like, we're not getting enough money, enough funding, but that's because a lot of people are requesting money, right? That's not something that we can do. We don't have a limit to how much money we can request. We just put them all aware that they're not gonna receive the entire funding, so.
Ethan?
So what I was gonna say is that I think something like this, like a club like this, would have no problem getting funding from School of Engineering, the Mechanical Engineering Department, and also a ton of support from Christopher Kitts. He's the leader of the Robotic Systems Lab on campus at Skiddy, and he's been wanting something like this really, really bad. He's even offered them a space in his lab. So I don't think that financials should come into consideration with this club, because the School of Engineering does support engineering clubs like this.
Lydia?
who are alumni or in the community that they hope to gain funding from, which they already have those conversations open.
Yes. To reiterate, please don't let university or staff or RSO allocations be the sole discriminatory factor for whether or not this PSO should or should not be an RSO. There are many other resources that are offered to RSOs with their RSO status, not just money that SAC gives out every quarter.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, like, I wouldn't worry too much about it. We give them like also a lot of resources that we know like offer help and whatnot, just because we know we can't give 100%. And the fact that engineering like does help engineering clubs is something that SAC does take into consideration when allocating money. So I just wouldn't worry about the financial aspect, because it's not like we like to say it's not like a programmed code. Like, it's human beings that have to like unanimously agree and vote on each budget proposal and request. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Motion from Laura, second from Noah, to vote on passing Bronco Robotics as an RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting. All those in favor of making Bronco Robotics a RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And this vote it is passed. Oh, sorry. Congratulations. Now, any comments about women in electrical engineering?
I mean, I think almost everyone with a critique regarding this club is going to say that it's very redundant, so I'm just going to list out the ones that I cross-checked it with, which is women in STEM and women in physics, computing machinery, ACM, Society of Women Engineers, and women in cybersecurity. That's very, very broad, but that is anything with potential overlap that I recognize.
Tara?
I'd like to push back on that. You just gave examples of what this club is. So, just to like echo what I said before, you just said women in physics, women in cybersecurity. This is, I would say, the exact same thing. So, yeah.
Tiago and then Ethan?
I will also say I spoke with SWE leadership, because I'm imagining Society of Women Engineers is probably the closest comparison we could find, and they also were very acknowledging of the fact that electrical engineering, there's not a lot of space in general on campus for those in this major, and that the estimate that I got from the president was that there might be maybe 12 women in electrical engineering on campus, like a very teeny tiny number. So I'd say that any kind of facilitation that we can do to create a space for a group that's probably less represented on campus like that would be good.
I was going to basically say something very similar to both Tara and Tiago. I think that it is only fair for there to be a women's society for electrical engineering if there's one for computing and physics as well. I just don't think it's any different. And also there is a small amount of representation, so I think the club would be nice to bring everyone together.
Any other comments, questions?
Push it about.
Second.
Motion from Tara, second from Bella to approve we as approve we as an RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I recognize that and I apologize. We will begin voting on we as an RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We is recognized as an RSO. Congratulations. All right. National Honor Society for Dance Arts, Santa Clara University. Tara.
Yeah, so they're pretty much already a club on campus. They have a huge role in the dance area, and I was talking that they take care of like awards, and they do shows, and they do this and that, and I'm really confused why they're actually not an RSO yet. They seem to have a great amount of, doing stuff, so I just don't see a reason of why we would say no to them. Completely transparent.
paraphrasing their words, so I might not be getting this completely right, but they said that they operate under the dance department, but since they're an honor society, they're not able to be open to underclassmen, so they want to make this an RSO so it can be open to all people.
Shaka, do you want to add? Oh, echoing the remarks.
Second.
Motion from Burke, second from Ethan to vote on National Honor Society for Dance Arts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. No voting. All those in favor of approving NHSDA as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now approved. Now, flow. Girls living out wellness. Alright. Carmen.
Yeah, so my only thing with flow is that it's very, very similar to charge, and then it also does step on like some of the things that like the mindfulness club does as well. So I just think it's a club that's kind of stepping on toes in another club is the only reason why I wanted to give this more discussion.
Noah?
I really acknowledging Tara's very earlier point about like going like directly and being specific, which something a lot of people are going now towards. This just seems like way too broad. Like wellness overall, not getting it.
Sorry, Bert.
The only question I had, because I also caught that it was very, very similar to Mindfulness Club. I was reading on the slides and it said that they were only mentioning women. So is this like an only women organization? They would know.
Nash, can you go back to the slide maybe that might have mentioned only women? Carmen?
So there are like, RSOs are allowed to be like, oh, we're focusing on like women's issues and whatnot, but they're not allowed to be exclusionary in any sense. So it can't be a women's only club. Like if men want to join, they can be allowed. So that's just the only thing. But it can be like emphasis on women's issues or like it's specifically catered towards like women's needs. Yes, but it can't be exclusionary.
I would also like to note that if it were exclusionary, it would probably not get past Victor because he has to approve all these constitutions for PSOs to be eligible to show up to the PSO fair. Tiago?
When I spoke with them, their argument was one that charge is only physically focused and that it's more expansive in the mental and emotional well-being. I agree with concerns about how it's reflected in other clubs, so that's less my point. My point more so is that they were saying that charge costs money to participate in and this is a free club. Does anyone know any details on that?
There's been free, I've done one, that's free. That's all I know, but there are some that I know that cost money, but I think generally from what I remember, again, this was freshman year, so. There were like a few that were like, okay, like pay like $20 for this class or something. Yeah.
Alright. Anyone else raising their hand to speak? Tara?
I mean, I was just asking them, like, oh, like, what events have you guys had? They haven't had any yet.
I would like to note that not all PSOs should have had events previously to be eligible to be an RSO. It might demonstrate that they are active and very interested, very passionate to be RSOs, but it's not a qualifying determinant of like, you don't exist yet, therefore you shouldn't be an RSO or something like that. Victor?
To Carmen's point, I did an audit to all of their constitutions, so nowhere in their constitution says for this specific group only. Even if they are a club for like robotics club, it cannot be robotics majors or poli-sci majors only. They have a non-discrimination clause that they need to follow, so clubs are open to everybody, although like Carmen said, they are focused into different things, but anybody's welcome to join any of the clubs. Regarding to this, I guess you could also argue the same thing for Flourish and Bells. But I think these clubs are about like creating community, right? A lot of people find community within spaces. And the fact that charge does charge sometimes is because campus rec is very limited to clubs. So for example, athletics has the priority, and then it's campus rec, club sports, and so on. So we get the last option after week 2 to make reservations, and then a lot of those are also reserved by classes and whatnot. So charge is one of those that we have a lot of difficulties making reservations for them. So often they have to go off campus, and it's very limited for them to have members. So the members have to pay or pay for a specific event in order to attend.
I would also like to note that if GLOW were to be passed, they would also be added to the RSO roster and thus be part of that pool that is not necessarily competing, but they would ask in that same process to reserve a space on campus. So it would add just another group that would that's another resource in a sense. That's not strictly financial, like staff funding or sponsorship funding or otherwise. Liz?
I was just curious if charge, like they're charging people because they're running into these issues of not being able to rent space or not being able to access stuff. Do we think that's just gonna repeat itself with GLOW? And if we start them, like they intend to make it free, but they run into the issue of we're competing for rooms and like now we're needing to like outsource our events. I guess that just, I don't know, something I was wondering.
It's a valid concern, and I think that was somewhat what I was trying to say. Something that we should also keep in mind for all PSOs/RSOs going forward, the more RSOs we have, the sort of resources that we have for them, space, physical or otherwise, in this university for them, doesn't change proportionally to the increase in RSOs. So in a sense, you could say that they are competing with each other for a lot of these things, and that should be a consideration of just the limited resources that we as a university possess that isn't just SAC funding, because that is reimbursement based and not like a space on campus. Any other comments?
Motion to vote.
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Brooke to vote on GLOW. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on GLOW as an RSO. All those in favor of GLOW being passed as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
With a majority voice vote. With a majority voice vote opposed, I'm afraid that GLOW will not be passed as an RSO. But I do respect the people who have maybe expressed their unpopular opinions. Badminton club. Comments about badminton club? Tiago?
I think the biggest concern I had around this is why it's not club sport under recreated campus rec instead of ours as an RSO.
Victor, do you know what?
Yes, so this is similar to cycling club. They were a club sport. Club sport is they have a really long list of requirements to become a club sport, and then they also have a timeline and stuff. So the biggest one for badminton is because they don't have a national organization or something. It's kind of like something that's pretty new. And that's the biggest requirement. They need to have like a, I don't know what it's called, but like a national thing that they compete against each other and stuff. And badminton is not, it's not as big in the US, I guess. So they don't qualify for that. They are in the midst of their application. So if they do become, same with cycling club, if they do become a club sport, then their club status will get removed because they cannot be both. So right now, I guess it's like a safety. They want the space and they want to be able to participate in the moment person table.
I do just also want to say I think this is kind of a club where it's supposed to be a bunch of people who are interested in badminton and just kind of want to casually play. I I don't think there's, because they were also mentioning that if they were to become a club at the PSO fair, that there would be a fair balance of casual games just to have fun, and then a little bit of competitive games that they can organize themselves. I don't think this is meant to be like a club sport where they go and compete against other schools.
Are there any other comments? Sorry, Bella?
This is more of a question of curiosity. So, will they be, okay, sorry. Will they be able to like rent out like space in like Maui, or will they be playing in like kind of like where will they be able to play, or like outside? Just curious.
That's very valid. So the first thing I tell a recreation club that needs Mali spaces is that we don't have spaces. So they are very aware of that. We do have some courts around the area that they go to. So since the first involvement offers some bands, and then what we do is we offer gas money aside for them to attend to, so that they're able to take all their students to those places, and then they rent those spaces as well.
Any other questions or concerns?
I just remembered Matthew works, he's like president, he's Mr. Campus Rec. So maybe we could ask him like the process of becoming a club and become a club sport.
Matthew, would you like to?
Yeah, so maybe what Baker said, a lot of actually club sports start as an RSF. That helps build their roster, because one thing you need to show as a club sport is like a good enough student entrance. You have to like provide rosters that you have like enough students interested. And then yeah, the biggest thing that current clubs are battling for is they need a national organization to recognize them. It's one of the big hurdles that a lot of potential incoming club sports have. The directors of Campus Rec like go through tons of applications every year for new club sports. It's one of the options against them. But yeah, like tennis was recently an RSL, became a club sport after they had like a lot of interest. Same with soccer is a RSL for a club sport. So it kind of helps them get their footing, figure out if they can find national organizations too now that they're recognized by the school. A lot of RSLs, or a lot of incoming club sports struggle with a national organization not recognizing them because they aren't recognized currently by the school. So being able to be say, hey, I'm an RSL, I'm recognized by the school, allows the national organization to actually let them into their organization first.
Motion to vote on that.
Second.
Motion from Laura, second from Noah to vote on badminton club. Okay, all those in favor of voting say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Quick clarification, say it's still around. Do I voice vote first, or do I roll call vote because conflict of interest? According. Roll call vote it is. Anyway, we go. Alrighty, Avishad. That's okay. Letty.
Yes.
Gianna.
Yes.
Ethan.
Yes.
Emerson. Noah.
Yes.
Tiago. Yes. Tara.
Yes.
Bella.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Carmen.
Yes.
Bert.
Yes.
Mercedes. Stefano. Liv.
Yes.
Or.
Abstain.
Abstain. Great. I really want that one. And, Mercedes?
Yes.
Would you like to approve badminton club or no?
Yeah.
She's so happy.
Thank you. With that, badminton club is passed as an RSO. Congratulations. Classic Cinema Club. Beginning discussion. Classic Cinema Club. Bella.
So, okay. I thought there was a film club that both made and watched films. Now I'm seeing there's a classic cinema club that only watches old films but doesn't make any. So I'm a little confused on what happens to film club and if this is the new film club. And if they will be making films.
Sorry. According to the current RSO roster, there is no SCU film club. So this PSO is not in organization that calls themselves Film Club that hosts weekly movie nights at a specific place on campus. Victor, would you like to add clarification?
Yes, so they're actually not renewed, and they're supposed to be filmmakers club, not a film club. So they're actually reaching the conclusion that we have had with that. I invited them to apply for the film club, but there were two groups actually interested in it. So Jimena, the president of the Classic Film Club, she created this PSO as a cinema club to watch movies and whatnot. But her idea is to understand movies and the impact that they have on society and the things, the things that you can get of it. So a day before we presented, she switched it to Classic Cinema Club because Filmmakers Club account has been taken over by these people, and I don't know how they're hosting meetings. They're not on our system, so they can't make reservations with us. They're got their account and they were posting movies and whatnot. I also told them that's illegal to do because they're not supposed to be posting movies because you need to pay for the rights. So if so, them as students, they're gonna get penalized. We as an institution, we cannot help them. If they are a club, we can help them, but because they're not, I asked them to delete everything, so they deleted everything. I have their account here. And they only left their filmmakers. So if they wanted to do a filmmakers club, we can just renew it, which is what I told them, but they don't want to do a filmmakers club. They want to watch movies. So Jimena decided to make this club specific to classic cinema, all stuff and things so that once the PSO process opens again, they can apply to do a film club. So that will be two different ideas.
Questions, clarifications about cinema club?
Motion to vote?
Second.
Motion from Tara, second from Gordon. To vote on Classic Cinema Club as an RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting. All those in favor of passing Classic Cinema Club as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Now moving to a roll call vote. Classic Cinema Club.
Okay. Letty?
No.
Okay, Gianna? Ethan?
No.
Emerson? Noah? Jago?
Nay.
Tara?
Yay.
Bella?
Nay.
Laura?
Nay.
Locke?
Nay.
Carmen?
Yay.
Bert?
Yes.
Mercedes?
Oh, no.
Liv? Gordon?
Yay.
And Todd?
Arlen.
Nay.
All right, with a majority nay, Classic Cinema Club will not be approved as an RSO. All right, the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative, ALCSI. Victor.
Can I ask, I don't know if I heard any feedback on why now.
Oh, yeah.
Because if, once we give them out the results, they do have the decision to appeal your decision when you're voting. And you have to defend your decision why you say no, like any reasoning.
All right, is there anyone who would like to provide reasoning for their no vote for Classic Cinema Club as an RSO? Matthew, do you want to add something? Were you raising your hand or did I blame you? Sorry, my bad. It's late at night and you have no reasoning for rejecting Classic Cinema Club? Oh, sorry, Tiago.
I had conversations with people in leadership with the Filmmakers Club, and they talked about they said that they talked with you, that if this club got rejected, then they'd be able to come back as an RSO because of the intersecting responsibilities. I had also understood that they were being supported by the comm department in this process.
nothing that we've talked about, because we talked about opening the PSO, that's why we might have changed it to the one, so they can have the opportunity to open the PSO, which the PSO, the only difference is that they don't receive funding, but they could continue operating. So I don't want them to operate as a filmmakers club watching movies, because that's not the purpose of filmmakers. Filmmakers is around the industry of filmmaking and that, right? Like, it's not watching movies. So they have the opportunity to apply for any club. It's not that if this one comes rejected, then they could do it. And I don't think that should be an objection to a club.
So to clarify, if they operated as filmmakers club and like they satisfied the qualification of filmmaking, then they would still be able to renew with the RSO, is that correct?
But they objectified the
Okay. Any other comments about not passing Classic Cinema Club? Wish to appeal?
Second.
Appeal, a vote, that does happen. All right, motion from Bert, second from Ethan to appeal the decision on Classic Cinema Club. All those in favor of appealing, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Now, appealing the decision, does appealing mean overturning? Or? I'm entertaining a motion to,
So if you appeal, it's like you can say something about the vote, and then carry a motion again to vote, but that vote can also be turned down. So it's not an automatic.
okay. Tara?
So what do we need to do to revote?
Motion to vote.
Motion to vote?
Second. Motion from Tara, second from, is that correct? Okay. Motion
A little
from-
roundabout, but it's fine.
Yeah. Motion from Tara, second from Burke to vote on Classic Cinema Club as a RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on Classic Cinema Club. All those in favor of passing Classic Cinema Club as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Unanimous vote, it is approved. However, it will still be kept in the voting record of the Senate of the membership that voted of their original decision. Flourish, Noah.
This is bells. That's it. That's the thing.
I would like to note that they did distinguish themselves, or they did claim during the PSO fair and presentations that they were separate from Bells, and highlighted the fact that, or they said that Bells is exclusionary, and Flourish would then be different from Bells by not being an exclusionary service organization. We have a lot of hands. Ethan?
I'm curious if anybody at this table is in favor currently of voting yes on this. You just put your hand up if you are.
Few people. Tiago?
One clarification that I have for Victor is, in the description here, it says that it's a faith-based organization, but not once did they mention faith when speaking to me or when giving their presentation. So if it's a faith-based organization, my understanding is that we are required to approve it. Is that the case?
I don't think any club is that you're required to approve. And I don't know, I think I'm confused because I think they were the category and then they used to split up. But I think it is similar to like, they are faith related, but they focus on the service and stuff. But there's no affiliation, doesn't say in the Constitution there's an affiliation to any church or anything, which often when they're affiliated, they do say that.
Norman?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna like go off of that as well and say, they talk about being faith-based, but then they also talk about being a service group, but then they also talk about like being professional and having networking events. So I was just very confused overall.
To clarify, I would assume the networking opportunities they referred to were related to the fact that they would be a chapter of a broader organization that has multiple branches across the Bay Area. They cited the Deanza flourish, like the SJSU flourish, or other local university flourishes. And so that could provide a network amongst Flourish members to like develop professionally as they so claim, while mostly being a service group that is faith-based, I guess. Lydia and then Tara.
So, as a member of BELS, we have an exec member that's specifically for faith and wellness, for spirituality and wellness. So, although not an actual like marketable aspect of the club, there is faith-based support that is built into BELS. Although it's not marketed or mentioned, that's just part of the community aspect. So I don't know whether or not that causes more or less conflict with this, just because it's not an official part of it. But that is a service that I guess exists.
Tara?
I'm really sorry if this sounds like stark, but I also was a little bit confused about what exactly it is that they are trying to achieve. And right now in my head, it seems like they just have events to like hang out together, which is cool, you know, but I don't know if we exactly need a chapter in our school for that reason.
Valid concern.
Yeah.
Are there other like slides about what they say that they do? I'm just. Last Saturday, Emerson, did you have a question?
Wait, yeah, because like, like I know BELS has dues, would this club also have dues?
They haven't mentioned, but I know Bells does have an application process, and I know a few people that have gotten rejected, they don't have that process.
Yeah, that was what they cited as like being different from Bells in that way. Bert?
Rather than this being an extension of BELS, I rather saw it as like an extension of campus ministry. That's not a space I'm super tapped into. But to me, I just kind of interpret it as like they wanted an all-female, or even though you can't discriminate, like oriented program for the people that would usually be going to campus ministry, because I know they do service through that. So I just thought of it in that framework, but I don't know if anyone has anything to say.
Laura?
I also think that, like, the purpose of an RSO partially is to establish community, and I think I'm also a little bit confused, but I think they're just trying to establish a community of, like, I'm not sure if it's exactly Jesuit, but, like, faith-based women, and I think that's a fair thing to want to do.
It would still be potentially creating a space, serving the student body in the fact that they are creating a space to come together, whether it be for faith or service or a combination. I don't know if y'all want to take that as a consideration. Liv?
I guess one of my fears would be if we have BELS and you have to like rush for BELS and it's not exclusionary but it's more selective. When freshmen come and they want to join the service, like, you know, or the organization, are they just gonna choose Flourish because it's free and then is BELS gonna like stiffly drop off of people? Because I do think whether or not like both organizations are doing the same thing for the same reason, like the pool of people that they're pulling from is the same pool.
There's enough demand to fill both, because it has like definitely gone to a competitive level where I think that almost seeing another women's service-oriented organization would maybe benefit that population. I don't know. There are many BELS girls in this room, so I don't know if people have different perspectives.
I would also like to note that we currently have 6 RSOs in the RSO master list that are listed under the service category. And this is in comparison to other categories like academic and professional and business, which have over 20 clubs under that category. So this wouldn't be saturating a category of clubs that is already high. It would be an addition, but I do understand confusion or concerns around conflicts with the club that already exists. Any other comments
categories that have been decreasing in actual numbers. They're not renewing. And also, I don't know if you've seen, but there's a decline of students wanting to engage in student leadership. And if you see, a lot of the service clubs are like MetLife, Medical Global, Bridge. So who really does service in this? Probably Bell.
Noah, did you want to comment?
Second.
Motion from Noah, second from Bella to vote on Flourish SB as an RSO. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are now voting on Flourish. All those in favor of passing Flourish as an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you for your opinion, or thank you for your votes, but with the majority in favor, Flourish is passed as an RSO. I really appreciate our extended end overdose at Santa Clara. Noah.
Again, another resume teller, but they also, when I talked with them, they didn't seem to realize that we have like a naloxone vending machine, or that they're already, I feel like, there's a ton of emphasis on this issue already. How well, like, like all organizations and groups on this campus, it just feels like a repeat. I get that it's like one of those chapters, but like, they didn't make compelling points, and it's like, you know, we need to be an official club. It's like, okay, like, to promote naloxone, we already have that.
Tiago?
I think something that I didn't understand with this, I feel as though at least a part of the wellness center's work already covers concerns around overdose and things. We have a member of the Division of Student Life whose entire job centers around this, and his name's Jason, and he's awesome. I don't know if we also need a club along with the educators we already have working with employed students on campus within the wellness center.
Any comments? Bella?
So I've spoken with Jason often. I'm a public health major, so we talk a lot about naloxone. I don't think there's ever enough activism about overdose. I think as many people in here know, like overdosing has been a problem at Santa Clara, and I don't think there's any reason why we should prohibit a club that's meant to, and I mean, it's obviously a lofty goal, but at least, you know, advertise naloxone. Oh, and I actually did a research project in public health this year. We found out a lot of students don't even know that we have naloxone vending machines, which is concerning. So like, even though we do have naloxone vending machines, a lot of people don't know about them. And once again, I've talked to Jason Mendoza from the Wellness Center ad nauseum, and he says there still is a gap in people knowing about this. So I don't think there's any reason to not approve this club, and it's a nonprofit with many chapters, so I don't really see a reason to not try to give them another platform here at Santa Clara where it's already been shown to be an issue time and time again.
All right, Claire, would you like to add something?
I would just like to request that we all refrain from speculating about people's motives for creating these clubs, whether they're trying to build a resume or not. I think we can all agree that this is a noble cause, and I really don't think that our speculation about why people are doing this or that should go into the decision. I'm gonna leave it at that, but yeah.
Savani, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think when we talk about these clubs rather than intention, like impact, are these clubs going to have a measurable impact on the lives of students here? Like that's ultimately what matters, much more than the intention of creating it. So I just want to echo what Claire said.
Matthew?
Just also a reminder, all your words are recorded. A lot of these PSOs will probably watch the recording to figure out why you didn't, and some of the remarks have already been a little personal about some of these clubs, so I just ask that you refrain from anything personal as they are recorded, and these are fellow students that you're talking about.
Carmen?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and my only thing is that, again, why we dismiss the other PSOs of MSF and the lung cancer screening is just, I think this is not necessarily what an RSO is meant to be. I 100% back this, obviously, like everyone in ASG backs this initiative because, you know, we did the whole naloxone, what's it called, projects and whatnot, but I do think it is better, versus like an initiative maybe through another RSO, or, just something more about awareness, but I don't think this is what an RSO is exactly, and I think if we, I mean, just going based off of what we've previously been doing, if we wanna stay consistent, then I don't think this qualifies as an RSO.
Lydia?
I'm more concerned about their own longevity, because if their goal is to educate everyone on campus about this, say that they do start tabling, and they start doing it, and they are effective, at what point during the year do they not, like, would they continue to do things like give out more, like, stuff that we have already in vending machines, would they try to bring more people here? When we talk about preventative and responsive measures, thanks, by the way, with education and training, does anyone know if they're planning on hosting like actual physical trainings with stuff like that? Because I want to know on like if they're going to be able to have enough stuff to fill a full year, or if they do all of this educational stuff and then at some point they kind of hit a plateau where their impact starts to get a little, so.
Yeah, I'm not like in this club, by the way, I just like have heard a lot of their stuff. Sorry, wait, can I should call me?
Go ahead.
Sorry, okay, sorry. From what I've heard from them, they are planning to do that. I think they also mentioned, or I mentioned some that they should partner with the wellness center and anything they do. So I think they are definitely interested in like active education and, you know, just helping people out with that.
Gianna?
Yeah, how can they told me that they wanted to collaborate with clubs to teach them how to use like Narcan and things like that. That was like the main point that they came across.
Thank you. I would like to add as well that there is, while not from this year's Senate, but last year's Senate, there kind of is, did we approve turnout?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so there kind of is precedent for accepting an RSO that operates in similar functionality of a different space on campus. Like, just because the wellness center already educates people doesn't mean that end overdose cannot educate people as well. Additionally, we get a new incoming class of students every year, so I would assume the plateau problem would be a non-issue because there would still be new freshmen who would need to be educated about intervention and the effects of overdose and having the long-term trainings for them additionally. Gianna?
When I talk to them, they express interest in, I think every freshman has to do like a Bravo belonging like course, and they express interest in wanting to like partake in that course for like learning about overdose.
Laura?
I also want to say we've talked about clubs, like not accepting clubs because they focus on awareness, but overdose and drugs are like a very pertinent issue on college campus, and I think it's kind of a different thing to like emphasize awareness of that because it's so like important on college campuses.
Any other? Bella? Do you want to add something?
I think, and I just, again, I think there is a lot of value in a student group that focuses on this, aside from just the wellness center, because the wellness center is a like really amazing group of people, but they are limited in the amount of people they have, and I think just anything extra could always help. And yeah, I think there's also something to be said about like students learning things from other students might be more inclined to go to end overdose for information about that than it could be for the wellness center, just out of fear of like anything, I don't know, everyone has, you know.
Liv?
My only concern is that, I don't know, I guess in the same way that like I wouldn't really want one of my school peers performing a scan for like lung cancer on me, like being able to determine that. Like I don't know that I am confident in our students' abilities like to be able to do that. I don't know, I'm not trying to
club? Like, is there any way for like there to be like just a little oversight and seeing what they're, because I have so much faith that everyone involved in this organization wants to do well and wants to help the sanitary community, but like at the end of the day, we are like 22-year-olds and we might not be the most informed to make well decisions together with each other about something like that.
Anyone want to respond to that? Comment?
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's why I was kind of saying, I think this is better off something that we have through Cowell and we have through like means that we know are like really like vetted and well sourced, and then students, we can have like maybe we have a discussion about maybe having more like having even more activism like through awareness like through ASG, and like maybe directing these students towards like helping, like talking to other RSOs and stuff about bringing them to Cal and all these resources. I think, but is it an RSO is kind of the question, and again, I'm still not really seeing it as what we define an RSO to be right now.
Small addendum to that, I would like to note that the Cowell Center will not exist in the future as the school is transitioning to partnering with Sutter Health for medical services, so they will not be a resource for students on campus to get that either education or resources from. Is there any other comments, concerns beyond?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that like overdose really happens like really all the time with some people. So I feel like any advocacy or anything that we can do to like help it or prevent it would like really be needed as well.
Yeah. It could be like any awareness or any educational efforts might be better than no efforts. If that could be a reasoning that might sway you to vote a certain way, but if you question the, not the legitimacy of your organization, but how they service the students, that is completely up to you guys. Liv?
Like, do we know what their their limit would be, like in helping a student? Because I guess like my issue is, I don't think there should be a scenario where a Santa Clara student is like directly helping another Santa Clara student off that ledge. I know we would all do it, but like I don't think it's a burden that anyone should have to take. Do they stop before that? Is it all just like advocacy and like just pointing towards resources? Because I agree, like I think any awareness is better than none. But I think when it starts becoming like a personal, giving personal advice about the personal situation, it gets a little messy. I don't know that like appropriate for a college campus.
That is a valid concern to have. Does anyone have any other remarks they would like to make about this? We can always, Victor, could we maybe like not vote on this today? You could come back next week. Is that okay?
Carmen is gonna have to let them know.
What? What?
You were just gonna have to let them know that we're gonna discuss again next week.
All right, so we don't have to vote to approve this PSO today. That is an option, but it is up to you all to.
Can I just get like a vote of who wants to, like right now, raise your hand if you like want to approve of it? Like a whole motion to vote?
Motion from Noah, second from Gianna to vote. Sorry.
That's not your vote.
Motion from Noah, second from Gianna to vote on whether or not we should vote
No.
on end overdose today.
Motion to vote on approval.
Yeah, motion to vote on approving. All those in favor of voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, with a majority nay vote, we will not be voting on end overdose at this moment. I would entertain a motion to table this.
Second.
Motion from Bella, second from Noah to table end overdose at Santa Clara, voting on whether or not to come to PSO 2. When would you table it?
doing car, first off, I love the passion that they display for car meetups and for music, but this is also like the intersection of two already niche groups. So they were talking about doing car meetups on campus, and I cannot imagine where on our already very full campus they're thinking of doing car meetups.
Matt, can you go to the slide where they have like a map with all the stars on it? Oh, well, it's not in their presentation, but they did share during the PSO fair a map with stars on it as to potential locations for, that's crazy, it's not in their presentation, about where the meetups and where the music events would be taking place. Burke?
Were you with here? I was, but it was about something else, but now that I have the spotlight, I did track some of the things that potentially, because redundancy seems to be the thing I'm like harping on, but I did track some of the things that could have overlap, including KSU with the music, APB with the event planning, Bronco racing with the car portion, and then also motorsport. So it could make a new intersection of all those things. Just putting that out there for you guys to evaluate.
Laura?
One concern that I have is I'm so confused where they're gonna get these cars. Because aren't car meets supposed to be like vintage, like nice cars? I'm just confused about that. And then two,
It's their cars.
it's there?
Yeah, you bring your car.
Okay, well, then ignore that. But the second thing that I was gonna say is, they said that the purpose of the RSO would be to like plan this, and I don't think RSOs are typically like planning boards. I think they could just like Burke said, like ask the APB to put on an event like this.
Gianna?
There's also a lot of car meetups already in the area, and I don't know if a lot of people are gonna bring, like, one of them even have a car too, they're gonna bring it, like, if there's enough, like, a population for their car, like, they're gonna
Yeah, what they said, when I went up to them during PSO fair is that they want to bring meetups to campus because they claim that the school does not have a lot of favorable on-campus events that students want to go to. If you want to like show the poll of like the ranked choice of which events are the greatest, and only midnight breakfast, culture shows, and harvest fest are on campus. So they, with their RSO, want to add to this list of cool on-campus events, which is something I want to point out. Carmen?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, okay, so they talk about how motorsports already goes to a bunch of car meetups, so there's kind of an overlap there, and they did talk about how they want to put on like an annual event with the car meetups, but I just don't see that being SCU students that are bringing their cars. I see that as being other community, which is cool and that's great, but I think the whole point of RSOs is that you're benefiting the SCU community and the SCU students. So I just don't foresee that as making as much sense as like where motorsports is already going to car meetups, you know? So I just don't see that as making a lot of sense.
Olive, you want to have something?
Yeah, I attend a lot of car meets back home, and I'd just be concerned about like, the campus getting vandalized with like burnout and like donuts and stuff, so like, I would be concerned about our campus having a lot of cars along with their cars, and that would exist.
Matthew?
Just for context, they reached out to us last quarter to meet with the members of exec for a meeting. They basically came to us wanting to partner to put on their event for them, and it just kind of seems like a one-time event they wanted us to do, and we basically declined because of the amount of legal and safety and too many other factors that were getting out of hand. And so, just for context, members of exec have met with them before. We vetted it and kind of said that this was not something we wanted to be involved in at the time.
They did claim during their PSO fair that they would handle those legal matters by having everyone sign waivers. Who everyone is and what those waivers are were not specified, but that is what they had reported. Mercedes and then Bella?
Logistical question, how is a RSO supposed to have legally binding courts for people, some of which could be minors, so there are sometimes 17-year-olds at this school who are just young. So that's a concern. Also, do the cars just like go in circles, or like back in the parking lot? Like, I have a lot of safety concerns, and I don't know if an RSO is, I don't even know if that's fair to them to make them legally accountable for damages done to the school by possibly people not in school too, because like this is a residential area. Like, who's to stop anyone from just coming with their car? I don't think there would be like checking tickets to like events in parking lot. I just think there are some like safety concerns that I think that should be considered, or just like, I don't know, Tetris together to figure out how this would work safely and to not cause harm to the campus.
Mercedes?
Motion to vote.
Motion from Mercedes, second from Locke, to vote on tempo, music, and meetups, right? Tempo, music, and meetups. Music and meetups. All those in favor of voting on tempo, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Now voting on tempo as to be an RSO. All those in favor of approving tempo as an RSO, say aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Unanimous vote. Tempo is unfortunately not approved. Piece of paper, our last PSO. Alrighty, folks. Noah, take it away.
I think it was really cute of the intent to like get together. I think my only worry is that it was like too loose of a get together maybe. Like not to say that it wouldn't add value to campus, but I think like the activity that they could be doing could be done like anywhere, and I think the only benefit I could see this RSO, potential RSO, we're seeing is like a group space, so it's like a dedicated place to meet. I wasn't sure like where it would go from there.
Bella?
I'm just a little confused. So they just do paper crates. They tell me, I'm sorry, I'm just confused. And I'm just like, where do they donate these paper cranes? I just am a little, and like strong and bundle of 25, 100, 1,000, those are really big cranes. I'm a little confused.
Alright, Lydia?
They said that they have donated to hospitals before and are also focusing on like child-specific areas like schools or children's hospitals specifically.
Laura?
I'm just worried that the group of people specifically, I know it's like supposed to be service, or I don't know what the like classification is, that it's supposed to be like donating, but I'm just worried that not many people would be interested in like coming together to make paper cranes. I don't think that's like a large group of people on campus.
Clarification, it is listed, I think it's a special interest club, and I'm not sure if this would be considered precedent, but we do have another organization on campus called Hooks for Hope, which is a crocheting club where members come together to crochet. I'm assuming to donate the works. I don't know what, they come together to crochet, which is considered, I would consider it a niche hobby similar to making origami paper cranes. But if you guys can consider that or not consider that precedent to have a niche hobby be a club that serves the broader campus community. I would also like to note that we do have clubs that don't really, this is a weird way to say it, but we have clubs like Books and Tea Club, which comes together every Monday at 7 o'clock in the library to be a space for people to get together and read books. Oh my goodness gracious.
This is like full charge when I started.
It's been 3 hours.
Yeah.
But okay. Does anyone want to come here?
I have a partner. I'll take notes in the corner. Like I had a contingency plan. I just didn't expect to
Letty
use it.
has one.
Portable charger.
That's what I got.
Listen to my pitch. I'm gonna have you sold.
Sorry, back on track. Books and Tea Club exists as an organization which one could argue it has a niche, but serves the student body as being a space for people to come together and read and drink tea. It is an RSO. You could use that as reasoning for why a piece of paper could be an RSO, just so that students can come together and make paper cranes, if you think that's valid reasoning to exist. Lots of hands. Carmen, Emerson, and Liv.
I was just gonna say really quick, should we just like motion to like close the sentence so that Lydia doesn't have to take notes right now?
I would advise against that because our
Almost here, guys, we're almost here. I'm trying so hard.
That is
Just-
I would advise against that, sorry, because I would like to keep the record, like the video going, so that this PSO can still see like the debate that we're having, the discussion about their organization.
I'm also, thank you for stalling for me. I'm also currently taking notes, we're back on track.
Alright, thank you. Emerson?
Do they just do paper cranes? Or do they do other origami too?
Creating handcrafted origami paper cranes.
Wait, but I think like, in, I think Japan, like, it's a sign of peace when you make them. If you make 1,000, it's like a wish. So I think that's why they're specifically doing paper cranes. Because like hospitals and like clinics and memorials, that's like to show peace and then like their wishes and all. Does that make sense?
Well, alright, Lynn and then Gianna.
I guess my thought, one, I love Hooks for Hope. I think it's great. I think that there are small communities on campus with niche interests, and we shouldn't, it's not our responsibility to say like, that's too weird for us. Not that anyone's doing that, but I also think that if all they're doing is making paper cranes for charity, and that's like how they're creating their community, and all they need is a room, I don't understand why we wouldn't just give it to them, because I don't think they're competing with another club. And I don't think we're gonna burn through all of the RSO funding money, because all they're buying is paper and maybe food for a few meetings. And honestly, guys, like, I might go join, because that sounds so fun.
Alright, Gianna, do you want to add something?
I was gonna say, like, I know it's a special interest, but like their main thing is service, and like I was gonna say, they can like collaborate with like another service organization, but honestly, you're right, and like it's not gonna cost any money, and like if it makes them happy, like it makes them happy. So it's a decent.
Sorry, I'm taking notes on my phone. That's why I'm typing. Mercedes?
I also kind of back to what Emerson was saying about, you know, significance to the Japanese people. I'm not Japanese, don't like me. But I did go to Japan and I went to the museum where it kind of talked about the Hiroshima bombing. And there was literally like thousands of paper cranes, and they talked about how significant it is to the Japanese people. And I know that we have a pretty prominent population of Japanese people here, and so it's kind of been this like tradition passed down through the generations to kind of again give peace. And I think it's something to consider, especially because we have such a large population of Japanese people.
Gianna?
Second.
You could have, okay, clarification, y'all can interrupt. You don't have to wait for me to raise your hand to acknowledge whether or not you vote the motion. But, motion from Gianna, second from Tiago, to vote on piece of paper. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on piece of paper. All those in favor of approving piece of paper to be an RSO say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Piece of paper is approved as an RSO. We are done. Next step for an overdose, which has been tabled to next week. All right. Thank you, Victor, for your time. Can we keep these papers or?
And if you
are planning a 5K alongside the wellness center. It's like a collaboration. It's the walk for hope, and then they're also adding a 5K portion to it. It's May 31st. Pull up. May 31st.
Wait, Ethan's not here. Oh.
Sorry. Emerson?
Ethan's not here, but we had our meeting today with the campus safety and where we had it with Lafayette Baker, Eddie Grace, and another person from campus safety. And they said we can't do it this quarter, but we can probably start beta testing next quarter, so that's good news. But I said it's like most likely gonna be 8 p.m. and it'll be all dorms that will beta test next year. So that's like exciting. But they said, well, we have a meeting with like the HLC, which are the people who are in charge of like, because right now we still need to figure out like the logistics of because right now there's rounds at 7 p.m. so they have to figure out the logistics for that. And we're trying to figure out if we want to like turn some side doors into main doors so they're open 24/7. So there's like lots of different stuff that like needs to go into it instead of just like beta testing. So that is like kind of unfortunate that we can't start it this quarter, but we'll hopefully be able to do it next quarter and then extend it for hopefully other meetings.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Motion for Kyoto, second for